Channel open. Welcome back to WeeklyTrek, a proud member of the Tricorder Transmissions podcast network, and presented in partnership with TrekCore.com. I am your host, Alex Perry.
What's today's date? The date.
Today's show is recorded on March 17th, 2022, and is current through the Star Trek Picard episode Assimilation and the Star Trek Discovery Season 4 finale Coming Home, so beware of spoilers. And if you are in one of the regions where Star Trek Discovery or Star Trek Prodigy has not yet aired and you are trying to stay spoiler-free, be sure to check the episode article on TrekCore for time codes for each of our stories tonight in order to avoid them. All right, let's get into the show.
Good day, Voyager, and welcome to A Briefing with Neelix. It's a catchy title, isn't it?
WeeklyTrek is a regular news show covering the biggest stories from the Star Trek franchise. We are in a new golden age of Star Trek. There are 5 television shows in production, possibly more on the way, and enough merchandise to fill the Bajoran wormhole. So stick with me and I'll help you sort the real facts from a lot of the Dominion propaganda that you'll find online. But I can't do this alone. And my guest this week is returning guest, co-host of the Snap Trek podcast and TrekCore contributor. It's Jen Tipp. Jen, welcome back to WeeklyTrek.
Thanks, Alex. It's great to be here.
All right, Jen. Well, you know the drill. I want to know something that's got you feeling good about Star Trek at the moment. What's got you moving at Warp 10?
There's so much great stuff happening, of course. But today in particular, on March 17th, we've gotten 2 new episodes of Star Trek. And the one that's really got me moving at Warp 10 is Picard.
Yes, Assimilation.
Assimilation. And there's 2 things in particular that really have me moving at Warp 10 that I want to mention.
Okay.
And the first thing is Dr. Teresa, whom I am in love with at first sight. She's so fun. I love this trope that Trek has of them going back in time and meeting these amazing women who somehow manage to encapsulate the best parts of the best, like the best types of people that you will find in that time period, like they're just all awesome kick-ass women. We've got Edith Keeler, Gillian Taylor, and Rain Robinson, and now we have Dr. Teresa. I don't think we learned her last name yet, and she's incredible. And give me that trope forever. I'll be happy. Like, it's so fun to me. I love it. And I love her and her and Rios. So I really enjoyed that part of the episode. I'm really into that plot line. And continuing in the vein of kick-ass women, I'm also really excited about the Agnes/Borg Queen thing that's happening here. This is fascinating to me. I think like we're getting a new Borg Queen. That's great, And you see the performance by Annie Wershing, and she's incredible what she's bringing to it. I'm really enjoying her take on it on the Borg Queen. Like she's this like gritty, calculating, like she's like a scrappy Borg Queen. Yeah. And I really like that. And I think she's amazing. And Agnes this season is scrappy too. And biting, and she's great, and them together is just genius. And I thought the scenes between them in Assimilation this week were just a really interesting new thing to do with the Borg Queen, to pit them together like this. They're against each other, or who knows, like what's gonna happen. I don't know. I'm very excited to find out. But it just really struck me as a really interesting character beat for both those characters, but also just a really cool sci-fi idea that they could go fishing around in each other's minds like that. Like, that's really neat. That's not something that you see too often, like the way they did that. I thought it was really well done. I thought it was really well acted, it was really well directed. It was just a joy. And Assimilation's my favorite episode of Picard season 2 so far. And I'm very excited to see what happens next. I can't wait for more.
Yeah, I mean, just like Agnes Girardi's glow up from season 1 to season 2, right? Like, I think probably maybe my least favorite character of the main characters from season 1, and now
mine too,
maybe one of my favorite characters so far in season 3 after the end of 3 episodes.
Yeah,
it didn't take a lot of it's not like she's a completely different character from who she was in season 1. It's just one of those things where, like, you just tweak a couple of things and all of a sudden the character's whole new, and you're obviously just vibing with it so much better than before.
Yeah, she definitely had some good moments in season 1, but she was by far my least favorite character.
Yeah, right.
I just didn't, I'm just going to chalk it all up to the mind control and just, compartmentalize that, because what they've done with her in these 3 episodes of this new season is, like you said, it's a glow up. But I think just her dialogue's been sharper, that
Yes.
she's been giving more to work with, because Allison Pill is incredible.
Yeah. Oh,
And she was incredible in season 1 too. And I remember thinking that I was like, oh, you get Allison Pill and this is all you're giving her, like you're not giving her a lot to really play with, to really work with. And this season they have, and she's obviously stepped up to the task, and she's just amazing. And I love Agnes now. I never thought I would say that, but I love her.
And you've done the most dangerous thing that somebody can do, Jen. You've impressed me.
What a line. So many great lines. Should I stole from the Board Queen file? I love it. Oh, it's great.
Yeah, I really liked Assimilation. I really like Coming Home too, and we'll talk about Discovery season 4 finale because that's one of the stories tonight. But I also really liked Assimilation. Honestly, the thing I'm feeling good about Star Trek this week is just really silly, which is I thought that that the rendition of California Dreamin' they used in the episode was a real bop. It was just, Star Trek does not very often use like popular modern day music that they have not, created a version of themselves. Yes. It's only happened like once, maybe twice in Discovery, and it's not happened in any of the other shows. So this is sort of the first time they've done it. And normally it's sort of a, like when it happened in Discovery, it was sort of an in-universe thing of listening to popular music, whereas this was the first time it was used purely just for the soundtrack. But you know what? It really worked as like transitioning over from them being on La Sirena and everything they just experienced in the Confederation timeline to now, nope, you're in 2024 Los Angeles, which... given that it's 2022 today, it's supposed to feel very familiar, while also just being a little bit removed, right? That you've obviously got some of the past tense touches of the sanctuary districts and the UHC cards, which, we do not have now in 2022, and God willing, we won't have in 2024. But yeah, it was a real bop, and I liked it. And I found that I guess it's arrangement by some German DJ called like DJ Freischwimmer or something. Nice. I found it on YouTube, and honestly, since I watched the episode, which was a little while ago, so this is not going to sound like a weird number of times. I've probably listened to the song 20 times. That's not I've listened to the song 20 times in a day. That's not so bad. I've probably listened to the song 20 times in like a week and a half since I first watched the screener.
It's on your playlist now. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, I really like that. Star Trek doesn't go to the well of popular music too often. Yep. So when they do, it's always special. And I really overall have been so happy with the choices they've made of what to put into Star Trek and this I like this a lot too. I'm a big fan of the original. I never heard this version of California Dreamin', and I thought it really fit with what they were doing. I thought it was great too, and it's a bop.
Yeah, it was a bop. The people might be surprised to learn I'm not much of a popular music aficionado. I know. Try and contain how stunned you are to hear that. But yeah, this one was a real bop. So there we go. Yeah. Sometimes my things I'm feeling good about Star Trek are deeply profound, and sometimes it's like, oh yeah, I like that little bit of music, and this is a little bit of music week.
And we have that luxury now with so much happening.
I know.
And we can just focus on fun things like this little, clip of music that they played and how it fit in, and yeah, we're so lucky.
All right. Well, with that, let's turn to the week's top stories.
There's a war going on, and I'm a reporter.
There's a new Captain Kirk in town. Paul Wesley, best known for his role in The Vampire Diaries, has been announced as the next James T. Kirk, who will be appearing in some unknown capacity in Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 2. In addition to the announcement of Wesley's casting, Paramount released a picture of the new Kirk seemingly in the Enterprise captain's chair. Obviously, the announcement has set the internet alight with speculation about Kirk's role in Strange New Worlds Season 2. Speculation first started earlier this week when passers-by took pictures of location shooting that was taking place in downtown Toronto, where Wesley was spotted, though not wearing the typical Enterprise badge seen in the publicity shot later released. It seems very likely the announcement was not planned. Why choose this week to talk about Strange New Worlds Season 2 when we don't even know that much about Season 1? But Paramount's hand seems to have been forced by the images that were circulating online. What role will Wesley's Kirk have on the show? Again, unknown. How many episodes will he appear in? Unknown. Is Kirk going to be the captain of the Enterprise now? unknown. While we don't have any information at all, I think the safe bet continues to be that Anson Mount is Captain Pike and that Pike is captain of the USS Enterprise. Given the Toronto filming has Kirk wearing a different badge, perhaps he's the captain of another ship, maybe even a command he held before later becoming captain of the Enterprise. Time will tell, though we probably won't know until like 2023, since we are now 49 days away from the premiere of Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 1 on the day that we're recording, and they're only just starting to film Season 2. But Paul Wesley does join actors William Shatner and Chris Pine in portraying the adult James T. Kirk, and by happenstance, Wesley revealed he found himself sitting next to William Shatner on a recent plane ride, which is a crazy coincidence. Jen, we've got a new Kirk in Strange New Worlds Season 2. How does that got you feeling?
You know, Alex, change is hard. I get
Change
it.
is hard.
I understand. And I had to think about it, for a hot minute myself. Can this guy, handle the character that I love so much? It's hard, you feel given ownership of the characters and you want to, make sure that it's handled correctly. And but of course he can. Of course he can handle it. He's going to put his own spin on it and it's going to be great, or it's not going to be my favorite. Who cares? We get Captain Kirk, and I love Captain Kirk, and I love, the original, and I love Chris Pine, and I love all the Spocks, and you know what I mean?
Yep.
I always think of it like with Shakespeare, like with like Hamlet. A million people have played Hamlets. Does that mean that nobody should play Hamlet again? Because we've probably had the definitive Hamlet. No, you want to keep that character alive, and we're keeping this character alive by having the next generation play him, and that's great, and I'm excited now. And and it's like you mentioned his he had a little Twitter thread about sitting next to William Shatner on a plane, and that was really sweet, and that that really put me at ease. He mentions the great bird of the galaxy in it. Whoever wrote it up for him, a nice job.
Really knew all the right buzzwords.
Really knew what to say, and now I'm just looking forward to it. We don't know anything about it. Why speculate about? Oh no, is this bad for Anson Mount? Or no, it's like literally nothing about what's happening other than a couple, a TikTok and a couple stills. And
right.
So there's no reason to jump to any conclusions. Just enjoy the fact that you're going to get this character we love a little bit more, and that's cool. And now I just have to familiarize myself with this vampire show.
Oh, right, yeah.
Because I don't know this guy, and I looked it up. There's 8 seasons of it. I'm like, oh well, maybe I'll just find out what the highlight episodes are. Trying to watch a couple of those. I don't know, or maybe I'll watch the pilot and be like, oh, this is interesting. I like that. Who doesn't like a hot vampire?
Exactly. Well, it's a CW show too, so it's like extra hot vampires.
Ooh, maybe I'll get into it. Who knows? But,
yeah, I mean, obviously this is huge news for Star Trek. It's huge news for Strange New Worlds, and it's all just really odd. And I say that in the sense of it is so obvious to me that in no scenario that any Paramount PR person, when they woke up on Monday morning, thought that they would be announcing the new Captain Kirk this week. Yeah. And it's entirely because they were filming over the weekend. They were filming on Monday. I mean, to the extent that you can criticize them for anything, it's that they should have known that if you are filming in downtown Toronto, literally downtown Toronto. I think I've been to Toronto one time.
Right.
I think I was walking through the area that they were filming in.
Right.
That someone was going to see it, snap a picture. It was going to be obvious who the guy was, that people were then going to start asking around. I mean, I think there was a Daily Mail article that got published 30 minutes after the CBS press release went out. And I wonder if that's why they did it, because somebody had the information and they were ready to say what it was. And so Paramount decided, hey, we're just going to go ahead and get this out there, right? In no universal scenario was it their intent to announce a season 2 character before season 1 had even premiered, right? So it's a little disappointing in that regard that the surprise has been ruined, because closer to the time, better in context, after the first season of Strange New Worlds has aired, I think we probably could have sort of located this news and given it the kind of whatever level of whatever that it requires, right? But we don't have that, because it's just this information in a complete vacuum. And so, I guess I don't blame people for jumping to what, does that mean he's taking over as the lead on the show and Anson Mount's Pike is leaving? And no, probably not, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, we would have had a little bit more context, obviously, if this news came out after season 1. But I mean, you know how people are. There still
Sure.
would have been this big, like, people would have been freaking out like the same way they are now. Just now we just have to deal with it for another, an extra year or whatever until we see what it is.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't see, like, I mean, you're right. I guess I don't know because I haven't seen any Strange New Worlds yet, but it seems to me like you wouldn't switch up the concept of that show that much. Just,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Right.
Like you wouldn't all of a sudden become the Captain Kirk show
Right.
after a season. Like that just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. After just 10 episodes, you're going to make it into Star Trek, the original series.
Yeah, that doesn't make so, and I don't know what they're going to do with Kirk, but, but we'll see,
Yeah.
Everyone just calm down. Everyone enjoy. I mean, you had to know, everyone had to guess that there'd be a Kirk at some point, right?
Right.
So I don't know. It's just really interesting how nuts everyone gets over a little.
Hey, I mean, it was the carpet on whether the Stargazer had carpet on Monday, and then it was Kirk on Tuesday. So.
I just love that we have all this stuff to argue about.
At least we're not doing the carpet thing anymore.
Oh, it'll come back.
Oh, sure it will.
The minute someone slips down one of those Stargazer hallways.
Yes. Yeah. Oh,
mad dash somewhere.
Yeah. So like, I think, on the Kirk thing, it's like, yes, this is super exciting, but as you say, no context on in how he's appearing. And honestly, I think it's slightly disrespectful to Anson Mount for fans to get too wrapped up in the what's Kirk doing there, what's his role, et cetera, because and to then jump to this conclusion of, well, does that mean that Anson Mount is leaving Discovery, right? Like, in no way, shape, or form does anything he's ever said about working on Star Trek vibe with me that he got to the end of 10 episodes and was like, no way, I'm out of here, see you later.
Right.
And they, decided to bring in Kirk and make this the original series, right? It's so much more likely to me that this is a stop along the road, that Kirk shows up as like, hey, let's just sort of show you Kirk from a period of time that we know nothing about his career, right? We know he was lieutenant on the Farragut, and then the next time we pick up his career, it's in chronologically where no man has gone before, and he's captain of the Enterprise. But there's like 6 or 7 years there where we just know nothing, and Strange New Worlds is taking place right in the bullseye. I mean, we don't know exactly when Strange New Worlds is taking place, but theoretically it's right in the bullseye of that period of time. And there has been a lot of it's never been definitively kind of said on screen before that the Enterprise was not Kirk's first command, but it's very strongly implied in a couple of places, and it's also very strongly kind of implied logically around the idea that someone like Kirk probably would have had been a captain of a couple of smaller ships before he ended up on, the sort of prized one of 12 ships within the Starfleet. So yeah, I mean, that's probably what it is.
And for me personally, like, who cares? Like,
yes.
If there's like one line of dialogue in the original series that the show contradicts, who cares? Tell me a good story about these characters and where you think they would have been at this point in time. I'm not gonna care. About like, because I think there's a line somewhere about when he first met Pike or something.
Yes.
Okay, like it's nice for them to consider all that stuff, but I also don't want them to hamper their storytelling because of one little line said in the 1960s. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's just me. Like that stuff just doesn't bother me. I know it does bother someone, and I get it. Like, but personally, that's not going to bother me.
Yeah, we'll have to see. As my nerd hackles go up, we'll have to see on that one. How well Kirk knows Pike, to me, feels pretty important to the way the menagerie plays out. The fact that he doesn't really know Pike means that he doesn't really understand what Spock's doing and why, and kind of takes his word on stuff, and because he's got no read on the man himself. But there's lots of ways to do all of that without it being that big of a deal. So yeah, I mean, and it's so far away, and there's lots going to happen, and they probably have thought about all of this stuff, and so we will see in 2023 what we will see, and as you say, it's not that big of a deal. Even if it does maybe slightly undermine part of one episode, we'll get over it. We'll be just, I mean, you don't need to get over it because you don't care anyway. I'll get over it. I'll be just fine.
You'll be okay, Alex.
I'll be okay. I'll be just fine. I'll be just fine.
I hope someone got fired for that blunder.
Yeah, right. I mean, what do they expect? It's downtown. I mean, I know it's post-pandemic and like downtown's a post-apocalyptic hellscapes, but like it's downtown Toronto and you've got a guy walking around in a Starfleet uniform and you didn't think someone's going to take a picture of that? Anyway, whatever.
I mean, maybe that also shows maybe they didn't care, like maybe it's not such a huge thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? In the grand scheme of the show that they would, I don't know. It seems like you're right. I mean, if it was like this huge part of the show, they would have done a better job of, I don't know. I guess sometimes you don't have a choice too, because I mean, sometimes like the city won't let you like shut down that road or whatever for the day, and you just got to deal with it and kind of hope there isn't someone there taking a picture. But I mean, it happens all the time.
Right.
Whatever. I don't care. We'll see. I'm gonna learn about this guy though. I'm gonna watch that vampire show, and I looked him up I looked up his Wikipedia. He's a Jersey boy, so that's okay in my book.
Oh, so that's what sealed the deal for you.
That sealed the deal for me. They should have picked an Iowa boy, I guess.
Well, Star Trek Discovery Season 4 just wrapped and went out with a big finale entitled Coming Home. And in an interview with TV Line, director and Discovery executive producer Olatunde Osunsanmi talked about the final episode of Season 4 and a number of the creative decisions that wrapped the fourth season. On the surprise cameo by Georgia gubernatorial candidate Stacey Abrams as the president of United Earth, Olatunde said, quote, Wilson Cruz has a relationship with her, and he asked Michelle Paradise and Alex Kurtzman if they'd be willing to jump on the phone with her. It turned out she is a legit fan, quoting dialogue from episodes. They tried to see which part worked for her and ended up choosing President of Earth. She came on set and everybody's head exploded because 90% of the crew didn't know she was coming. You could just see necks break, like, what? Stacey, what is going on? And she killed it. She knew her lines, knew the intentions and motivations behind them, delivered them great, and understood the blocking that I was trying to do with it. And on books, is he or isn't he dead moment, Olatunde explained that, quote, it was always in the plan not to kill him, to believe he's dead and then actually have him survive at the end. Earlier in the season, we didn't quite know what would occur. There was a moment in episode 2 where the audience wasn't sure whether Book survived the DMA, and Michelle asked me not to make that moment too dramatic because she didn't want anybody to think he was dead so that it wouldn't step on what happens in the finale. And for Tilly fans, Olatunde indicates that Ray Wiseman's Tilly will be returning in some capacity to Discovery for season 5, quote, I think I can say she comes back to play in season 5. I don't know if I'm allowed to say how much she comes back to play, but she's part of Discovery. It would be weird not to have her. I'd like to see more of her than less of her. She's a wonderful person and one of my favorite characters, so I think we can expect to see more Tilly. Jen, how did you enjoy the finale of season 4 of Star Trek Discovery?
I liked it. I thought it was a strong ending.
It was my favorite of their season finales to date.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was good. It was good. I wouldn't say it was my favorite of the season finales. They've had some pretty. I
mean, I will say that, like, I don't like a lot of the Discovery season finales a lot. So, grouped in Will You Take My Hand, Such Sweet Sorrow, That Hope Is You Part 2, and this one, I think this one's my favorite.
I don't know. I haven't thought about ranking them, but this one was good. I really loved, for me, the highlight was the looks of the 10C.
Yes.
The visuals were gorgeous. The Tilly and Vance stuff were
that was
highlight
great
for me also.
Yeah.
I'm glad that Book died and came back to life within the same episode. Like after reading that article, like I'm glad they didn't do it, make you think he's dead for episodes and episodes, then bring him back. Like I'm done with the trope of killing people we love.
Yep.
And I'm looking at you, Picard, with Elnor too, even though I'm sure that one's just going to be a reset button at the end of the season. I mean, we're dealing with time travel. He's definitely coming back. But yeah, so I'm done with that. So I'm glad that happened within the same episode. I was actually well, if I was going to be a little bit critical,
you're allowed.
Critical, but the actual climax of them communicating with the 10C and it hinging on just these speeches, after speech after speech, that was a little bit of a letdown for me after the whole buildup of the season, and then that's all it took was them to give these speeches, and then the 10C decided to just stop doing what they were doing. And it was interesting. I thought about that as I was reading the article that you were just quoting, because Osunsanmi said, one of the things he said about the 10C, he said, it's comforting to think that not everything is evil. So I get that that's what they were going for, was that they could just give the speech and these aliens would just decide to stop,
Yeah.
like polluting, whatever the equivalent analogy is. And I think that's really nice, but I also don't know how realistic that is, because it makes it seem like you could just give these speeches and then people will stop doing all the bad things they're doing, which I wish that was true. Right. So that was a little bit of a for me, but I love what they're saying about, I love the themes that, that for these last 2 seasons, the theme has really been that we're all connected in an environmental way. Like we just are, we're all in the same, galaxy, or even outside the galactic barrier, they're still connected, and we're all connected on Earth. And I like that. I really like that. I was a big fan of the cameo. I really liked the cameo of Stacey Abrams. I thought that was well done. I love, regardless of what your politics are, this is a woman who's dedicated herself to making sure that everyone's vote is counted. She's fighting against voter suppression. And that's something that, that's something that everyone should agree with. I would hope that everybody should have a vote and everyone's vote should count. That shouldn't be very controversial of a statement, So, and I think that mission of making sure that everyone's vote is counted, that really falls into the same thing that Discovery is trying to say about all of us being connected and being part of a big thing together, just because, we just are.
Yep.
For better or for worse, we're all part of this one globe, and everyone should matter. And I thought that was really well done. I thought that was really nice, exclamation mark on that for the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, I definitely, I've talked about this in the Trek Core reviews that I have done. I feel like Discovery has gotten too comfortable with a very specific narrative structure for their seasons, which has played out over the last 2 years now, right? Where you do sort of save a lot of this stuff right for that last episode, and they did it again here too. And then because it's the last episode, but there's this like quick heel turn on some of this stuff, you kind of have to speed up things that you wouldn't have had to if you hadn't held it back for the season finale, right? Like,
yeah,
there was no reason really for Taka to have made it all the way through to the season finale. That character probably had maybe 3 episodes in him, and they stretched it out to like 6. And by the time you get to that last episode, after being just no, super intransigent, becoming increasingly more of a bad guy, to then just within the space of like 1 additional speech go from I'm going to destroy Earth and Vulcan, and I'm going to kill all of the 10C in order to get this chance at crossing, the multiverse back to my partner, to, oh my God, I've made a horrible mistake. I need to kill myself in order to make up for this. Like, that was a little quick. And then, as you say, once they get into like the communication part of the episode with the 10C, last episode, they were sort of explaining, even in the first half of this episode, they're explaining the very concept of individuality, which is not easy to communicate, because that's a very different frame of reference than they are. But yet, fast forward 10 minutes and they just mention love as being the central concept to what they're trying to explain, but without then explaining anything about what love is. And it doesn't matter at that point, right? At this point, we're communicating on the same level because we need to get this episode going, and we've only got 60 minutes within which to do all of this. Whereas if, some of those ideas, they could have played that out over 3, maybe even 4 episodes, rather than just those last 2, and it would have been fine. It would have been good. Or they could have met the 10C in episode 6, and then we would know who the 10C is, but they don't successfully make first contact the first time, and it takes them a second try at it. And lots of the same things could have still happened in the season, but it wouldn't have that element of it's all riding on the season finale to make this season good, because that sucks when you're in episode 8, 9, and 10, and you're like, boy, I really hope the season finale is really good, because if the season finale is really good, then I will look more favorably on these episodes. If the season finale is not very good, I'm not going to look that favorably on these episodes. Now, luckily for me, they stuck the landing. The season finale was really good. And so season 4 rises in my estimation as a result. But that's a dangerous tightrope to be walking. And now we've done 2 seasons of Discovery that structurally are nearly identical in terms of me as the audience watching. I have a really good sense of when the big story beats are going to hit. It's going to be in episode 1, a something, right? a question will be asked. By episode 5, we're going to hit some sort of turning point on that question that has nothing to do with us getting closer to the answer to that question, but does have to do with, like, we get the little clues throughout each of the episodes, and then we've got a 3-part basically finale that leads us up to the big finish, and all of the questions you have are going to get answered in the season finale, but very unlikely going to be answered before that. I really don't want to do that again for season 5, right? Because I know it from episode 1. I know which episode I'm waiting for in order to know, exactly what's going to happen. And like, there's no tension there. There's no surprises there. You're just watching the same thing play out again. I mean, to the point that, this season finale, which again, really, really enjoyed, but ended on this log from Burnham, which was functionally very, very similar to the same log entry she gave at the end of season 3 about rebuilding the Federation. It's just, they just rebuilt it a bit more at the end of this one. So I think they got away with doing it a second time, and they did a really good job of it. But like for season 5, I think it's time for them to turn the narrative structure on this show on its head a little bit in order to keep the audience engaged.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I mean, I think season 5, they can literally do anything they want. They're not hindered by canon, quote unquote, or anything. And we've said that before. We've been saying that since they've arrived in the far future. But hopefully the way her log read, she was wrapping up season 4, but she was also wrapping up seasons 3 and 4.
Right.
She mentions she talks about the burn. She talks about the DMA, and she kind of, puts a bow on it together as like, okay, we've gone through these 2 things and now we can move on. And I really, really hope that they will move on, because I'm tired of the mystery box too. We've been there, done that, and we have wonderful characters. We have, Zora. It happened and this season, right? And that was amazing. And we have. I think Burnham as captain is incredible. I think she's really coming to her own, and she's really fun. I just want to see her get to be a normal captain, right, instead of having to rush through a season of mystery box to try to solve this one big thing. I don't know. I agree with what you're saying overall. But because then you get to the point where they kind of had to wrap it up with just 3 big speeches, because now it's the end of the season,
right? Like, you just run out of time.
And you just run out of time, and then it's okay. Now we're finally with the 10th scene communicating, and where do we go from here? We only have half an episode left. Okay, everyone give their big speech about about pollution and everything, and love and pollution and. And then we're done here. So yeah, but I do disagree. I do want to mention though, I really enjoyed Tarka. I think Tarka was a season-long villain. I liked him. I definitely agree with what you're saying that his ending was also just, here's his speech and now he's changed his mind. But I like, what did he say? He said something like oh, he would have stopped me too, or something like that, when he's talking about.
Yeah, right.
I thought that was just lovely. I liked his arc. I liked his motivation. I liked that he was a bad guy, but also relatable in a way, because he's just this misanthrope, before he turned evil, and he was just like a funny character to me, and I liked his turn. And of course, but you're right in the sense that like there's no way that was going to end without him dying. Like that was the only ending for his character.
Yeah, sort of poetic that it was left on that slight question, in the same way that you don't know 100% that Oros died. You don't know 100% that Tarka did either. Yeah, which is kind of an interesting. It's poetic. Yeah, I liked it. I liked that part. I just want to give them a little bit of credit for that. But yeah, less universe-shattering stakes in season 5. Yes, please. Well, to build excitement for the upcoming release of the Star Trek Resurgence video game from Dramatic Labs, IGN featured several videos that included real gameplay footage for the game this past week that provides a look at the game mechanics and part of the story. Resurgence is set after the events of Star Trek Nemesis and features a new crew of characters aboard the Centaur-class USS Resolute. During the story, players will alternate between the perspectives of 2 main characters. They are, first, enlisted Officer Carter D. Diaz, who is described as, quote, a dreamer with a thirst for adventure. Carter Diaz decided to skip the academy and enlist in Starfleet so he could get out to see the galaxy. He's a gifted engineer, and while life on the lower decks keeps him far from the decisions on the bridge, he almost always finds himself close to the action. And next is Deep Cut Star Trek Deep Space Nine alien, the half-Kobliad Commander Jara Rydek, who was top of her class at the Academy and battle-tested in the Dominion War. As a new arrival to the Resolute and to the job of First Officer, Jara will have to earn the trust of her crewmates, but she's a half-Kobliad and one of the last of her kind, so used to being an outsider and beating the odds. Jen, I know you enjoy the occasional video game. Do you think you'll check out Resurgence when it releases later this spring?
Oh yeah, I definitely will. I really enjoy third-person adventure games like this. This is my jam right here. So like, I don't play like Star Trek Online. Like I just can't. I can't get into games that don't have an ending because then I get obsessed and and I keep So this is perfect for me. I've seen the gameplay footage and it looks really cool. The Resolute itself looks really awesome.
Yeah,
and the characters, both the playable characters and the NPCs that they have write-ups for, like they all seem really interesting. And I just really hope that that you have a lot of freedom to play in the universe.
Yeah.
As the narrative progresses.
Especially since one of them's an engineer, right, Jen? I mean, that was right up your alley.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was thinking that too. And in the 4 minutes of footage, you get to see engineering, and it's really cool. So that looks great. Yeah, I hope that's what I was thinking when I said play. Like I want to play in engineering and do different things. So I hope it's a pretty wide open game for that. But yeah, that's 100% a buy pre-order for me.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to check this one out. I am not much of a gamer. My wife is a huge gamer and she loves the same thing. She loves these, big sort of third person RPG games, your Mass Effects, etc., etc. And so I said, when it comes out, we'll play together. She'll control the keyboard and I'll make the decisions for each of the characters. And and that's how we'll do it.
Oh, that's sweet. That's a sweet little date night.
Yeah. But so I'm looking. We did it once before with another sci-fi game, and it was a lot of fun.
That's
actually.
Cute.
And yes, I'm really looking forward to this one. I think the gameplay footage is really good. I mean, it's it's definitely a Star Trek game, and it's definitely a Star Trek game made with sort of, this is not Star Trek Hidden Evil or a Final Unity or any of your kind of old school video games. It's definitely sort of a modern third person RPG that looks very similar in sort of mechanics to me watching over my shoulder as my wife plays Mass Effect. And so, yeah, I think this is really exciting. And hey, lots of people have been asking for a new Star Trek video game for a long, long time. Yeah. One that, sort of was not just in the Star Trek Online MMORG kind of vein of game, sort of a sort of real kind of, story-based game that has a defined beginning, middle, and ending, and, sort of tells you like one movie's worth of story, and we're getting it. So, let's not screw up the opportunity now that it's here to enjoy it, and with the hope that maybe we get some more out of it as well.
Yeah, I think it'll do well.
I think it will. I mean, it's been so long.
Just based on what I've seen so far. Yeah. Like it looks like a really playable game. So we'll see.
Well, and lastly this week, fan favorite documentary Trekkies is making its way to Blu-ray on May 24th, 2022. The latest release of the movie is based on a 4K scan of the original film print, and so should be presented in much higher quality than the previous DVD releases. In addition to the Blu-ray of the movie, Shout Factory will also be including a special feature called The Trek Back, in which the movie's narrator, Denise Crosby, and director Roger Nygaard will look back on the documentary about Star Trek fandom 25 years after its original release in 1997. To say that I'm excited about this one is an understatement. I probably watch Trekkies once a year. That's how much I enjoy this documentary. Jen, have you seen Trekkies?
Really? That's
I love Trekkies.
I have seen Trekkies, but not since the 90s, like not since it came out. I've only seen it once. And once was enough for me. But I will definitely I will revisit. My memory of Trekkies was enjoying some of the interviews, but feeling very protective of the people that they've interviewed. And it, because at some points it seemed a little bit more of like, look at these weirdos instead of like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Instead of an actual like celebration of Trekkies. You know, that's just my memory from the 90s. I could be completely off base, but that was the feeling I got. And I remember just like I want to protect these people, you know, these Trekkies that they're interviewing. And I just remember like feeling anxious about it while I was watching it. So I hadn't revisited it. So this is the perfect time to revisit and see how my opinion on that has altered.
I would say definitely give it a revisit. And the reason why is because I used to feel the same way about it that you do now. When I first watched Trekkies, I was mortified. I was absolutely mortified at the idea that I was in any way, shape, or form affiliated with these people, that like this was what was being used to represent the thing that I loved very much. And that as a result, from that point forward, anytime I announced myself as a Star Trek fan, people in their mind were going to have the crazy lunatics from Trekkies in mind as being like, oh, this guy's just like them. And I think for a number of years, you know, earlier in my fandom, I very much kind of approached it from like, yes, I'm a Star Trek fan, but I remember saying this on many occasions. I've never been to a convention and I've never dressed up.
Coming from you, that's hilarious.
I know, right? But my relationship with that movie has evolved significantly as my own relationship with Star Trek has evolved. So now to the point where I'm like, I love each and every one of the people featured in this documentary from the way too. From the and I'm not saying you aren't, but it's like in the sense that
I want to protect them from
but they don't care, right? Like they don't care how they're ultimately presented,
right?
Because they're just sharing the thing they love in the way they love, and that's it. You know, and it's from Barbara Adams, the Whitewater Star Trek juror who, you know, showed up to the trial every day wearing her Starfleet uniform and was featured in like newspapers around the world because of how scandalous that was in 96 or whenever that happened, to Gabriel Kerner, to Starbase Dental and Trek Talk and Beyond, right? Like all of them. The more I watch that movie, the more I'm like, you know what? These people are teaching me how to love Star Trek and how to do it in a way that's really unashamed of who I am and the way that I choose to express that. And so I've always been extremely grateful to that movie for helping take me on that journey. Not the first time I watched it, probably not even the second time, but really after I started going regularly to Star Trek conventions, I sort of revisited it and came to it with an entirely different light. So yeah, as I say, I probably rewatch it once a year. That's how much that's how much I love Trekkies.
Well, yeah, I'm definitely going to give it another chance. Because I mean, it's not that I didn't love the people in it. It was more like I felt protected of them. Like, are they being exploited here?
Yeah, right.
Are they being made fun of, or you know what I mean? Like, and I guess watching it when I was younger, maybe I was just being a little bit defensive myself. You know, like, are you guys making this movie? Are you making fun of these people, or are you enjoying them for what they're doing? And and you know, I'm willing to give it another chance and see, you know, with your perspective in mind, because that's an interesting take on it. All right,
time for a Brent break. Okay, we talked about the facts, and now let's speculate on what you'll get that joke again once you've seen the movie a second time. Now let's speculate on what's going to happen in the future of Star Trek.
You make some very good points, Captain, but it's still all speculation and theory.
So each week, my guest and I give you a wish or theory we're nurturing about any of the shows or the future of the franchise. So Jen, let's hear your theory or wish for this week.
Okay, I'm not working in theories. So I have a wish, and it's just a silly one. This is a Star Trek Prodigy wish.
Okay,
so I'm just loving Prodigy. I'm very excited. You know, we've had the first half of season 1, and probably in the fall we'll get season 1B, season 1 Bravo. So my wish for Prodigy is that I've been thinking about like the guest stars that we're gonna have. You know, because I'm sure there's definitely gonna be more coming. And there's a lot of characters I want to see, obviously, but like within the whole Star Trek universe, you know, like I want to see Ezri Dax, you know, like in any form, you know, there's a bunch of those. But I think for Prodigy, what would be fun is to revisit the children that we've seen along the way.
Yeah.
So give me Barash from Future Imperfect.
Oh, yeah.
Give me Chad Allen from Suddenly Human. You know, bring back the kids from Disaster. Give me Jay Gordon and the Radish kid. You know, like if they meet a Q, let it be, you know, either like Olivia Diabo or Q Jr. You know what I mean? Tell me what's happening to Mazzotti and the twins. I mean, they're in the Delta Quadrant. They
Jeremy Astor, he is brother of Worf.
Yes. Oh, exactly. Yeah. There's so many possibilities there. I think it'd be fun to have like little things like that of showing where those kids are now. And they don't even have to like mention, you know, like it could just be them meeting these people, not, you know, they don't have to mention the history. I don't, you know, like we'll know, right. You know, I think there's just a lot of room there to tell those kinds of stories too. Cause I wonder what happened to these kids, you know?
Yeah.
And I'd like to know, this is a good place to do that. I think, you know, I bet they'd all be happy to come back and voice their characters again.
Just not the alien who was the weird imaginary kid and imaginary friend.
Ooh, yeah. No.
I could do without. I could do without that one.
But I don't know, man. Like we've already been to Murder Planet. I mean, we have room for some bad guys.
Sure.
So, you know, like they could. There's a lot of possibilities.
Who was the kid who pretended to be Data? Hero Worship.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's another good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot. Yeah. Just say like just what happened to these kids? Like the Practical Joke Brothers. What? Remember the? Yeah. Like there's so many good ones.
All right. Let me give you. We'll pull it full circle. Here comes my theory.
Okay. Oh, a theory. All right.
Yep. It's a Captain Kirk theory.
Oh, okay.
All right, I'm going to tell you right now how Captain Kirk's going to appear in Star Trek Strange New Worlds, okay?
Let's hear it. Give it to me.
So it's the season 1 finale.
Okay.
And, you know, it's an episodic show, so it's good, just one episode. And, you know, the events play out, and it's great, and everybody's having a good time, and they're getting ready to warp off into the future. And all of a sudden, Uhura turns around, Captain, we're receiving a signal from Starfleet Command. Pike turns to her and says, put it on screen, cadet. And so boom, up on screen comes Starfleet Admiral, Commodore, let's call him Commodore Mendez. And Commodore Mendez says, Admiral, I've got an assignment for you in the Enterprise. I really need you to rendezvous with the USS Sacagawea. They're carrying important cargo for a medical conference on Delicia 2. And so it's like, okay, Admiral, you know, set course, warp 7. So they, you know, the Enterprise warps off, and boom, comes out of warp, and it's a starship, and you know, it's like on fire and everything, and on screen, and boom, it's Captain James T. Kirk, and it's like, Captain Kirk, how can we help? Dun 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 dun, to be continued. And then it picks up in like the season premiere of season 2 for, let's call it a 2-parter, which we know from the Toronto downtown stuff almost certainly has a time travel component to it. Right. It's Kirk and Laan Noonien Singh, played by Christina Chong, and one of the set pictures, there was a bus that said Illinois State Penitentiary or something like that on it, which, you know, clearly not a Toronto thing for Illinois State Penitentiary, so probably a prop that was being used in the filming. So yeah, I don't know how my theory ties into the whole, right, like then they go back to what sounds like, you know, modern day Chicago. But yeah, I think we were like, in the same way that the Enterprise was the big end of season 1 kind of cliffhanger reveal for Star Trek Discovery, I think Captain Kirk is going to be the big season finale cliffhanger reveal of season 1 of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. He'll stick around for a 2-parter, and then that'll be that, and they'll be off, gone. And you won't see him again until the end of the series, when Paul Wesley will come back aboard and shake hands with Anson Mount, and then Anson Mount's off, and Paul Wesley's continuing on as Captain Kirk, and the Enterprise warps off into the future, and that's that for Star Trek Strange New Worlds.
I like it. I like it a lot. I like it because you're right, like, because it is an episodic show. So yeah. Why are people worried that Kirk's going to take over the whole show?
Right. Bring in a cool guest star for a couple of episodes to start season 2. And we know they only just started filming season 2. So, you know, it stands to reason that, he's good. He's in the like first episode or 2 since they just like started filming it in the last couple of weeks. So, yeah, I like it. I like the amount of time and effort you put into that too. That's incredible. I was on a journey. I was like, where's my popcorn? That was, you know, Star Trek Writers Room. Give me a call. That was all right off the cuff. You know.
Alexander T. Perry, ready?
Yep. DMs are open. No, they're not open. They are not open. Do you have a theory or a wish for Discovery, Picard, Strange New Worlds, Lower Decks, or Prodigy that you'd like to share? Well, tweet them to me at WeeklyTrek or email them to me at weeklytrek@thetricordertransmissions.com, and I might feature your theory in a future episode. Well, that's all the time we've got for this episode of Weekly Trek. Thank you so much to my guest, Jen Tiff, for joining me today. Jen, how can people contact you if they want to continue the conversation?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter. I'm at Eda Quarks, and you can find my podcast is Snap Trek, wherever you find your podcasts.
And you can find this show on Twitter at WeeklyTrek and me at Alexander T. Perry. And if you enjoy the show, please consider leaving us a 5-star review on your podcast player of choice. And please check out some of the other great shows on the Tricorder Transmissions. And if you like our shows, please also consider becoming a Patreon of Tricorder, which you can find at patreon.com/the Tricorder Transmissions. And lastly, if you're looking for Star Trek news on the internet, I hope you will turn to trekcore.com. Well, thank you, Jen. Thank you to all of my listeners. And until next week, live long and prosper.